So you have Serum, you have Omnisphere, you have Alchemy, you have Splice, you have AI, you might have 3 DAWs in your computer at this point, you have 1,000 plugins, you have unlimited tools, and you're still not getting the results that you want. Your production still don't sound the way you want. Your mixes still don't sound the way you want. So why is that? That's the question we want to answer in today's video. And again, on this channel, we're not DAW specific, we're not plugin specific. I'm sorry to all my software and plugin companies. If you still want to sponsor the show, that's what's up. I will promote all the gear that I genuinely enjoy and I genuinely find useful. Whether you pay me or not, I'm gonna do that. But the purpose of this channel is for you to gain real understanding of what you're doing, what all the tools do, why they're all there, how do we use them, when do we use them. And as long as you understand that, it doesn't matter what DAW you're using, doesn't matter how much gear you have. Thanks to technology, everything's pretty amazing nowadays. Every DAW is amazing to me. I love FL Studio, I love Ableton, I love Pro Tools, I love Logic. They're all cool. Cubase, no matter what you're using, if you know what you're doing, you can get some amazing results in any of those DAWs. I've heard producers on old versions of Acid Pro make some killer, amazing stuff that sounds phenomenal. We're talking good sound selection. We're talking good sound design. We're talking good arrangements, and then we're talking great mixes. So on this video, we're gonna talk about a few different things. The main thing is minimalism. And why does it work? Not only minimalism, but sound selection and sound design, which is gonna help you get great arrangements. You're already picking sounds that work great with each other. So your productions already sound very clean without doing much mixing. So when we get to the final mixing phase, you're really just doing touching up and you're getting great, phenomenal results that you love, that you enjoy, that you're proud of. And that's what we want to get you to here, no matter what DAW you use, no matter what plugins you have, no matter what gear you have. And as long as we get you there, then I think the videos are successful. I think the channel is successful. And if you guys appreciate that, all you got to do is like, subscribe. Let me know how the videos help you guys out, because this is a community. So whatever you guys need, just let me know. As long as I can get to it, I will gladly answer it. We don't gatekeep information here. We don't gatekeep anything. Gates are wide open. We're in the information age. Whatever information I know, whatever experience I have, the point of this channel is to share it all with you. Each one teach one, pay it forward. That's the point of this channel. And I hope it helps you gain understanding of what you're doing, helps you get better results, and you're happy with your results and you're proud of your productions and your mixes. And that's what Costa Sound TV is about. And we're gonna continue with that. Without further ado, let's just get right into this video. So again, today we're gonna focus on minimalism. What do I mean by that? How does it help you? How does it help you get better productions? How does it help you get better mixes in the end? How does it help you build better arrangements? And why does this work for every genre? I'm talking hip hop, I'm talking subgenres of hip hop like boom bap, trap, whatever it is. I'm talking house music, I'm talking even rock music. When you think of groups like the Chili Peppers or the White Stripes, there's not a lot of elements to those bands, right? We could just be talking drummer, bass, some sort of guitar, some sort of main melody, some sort of main chords, right? And then the vocalist. And then that's the gist of the entire arrangement, right? That could fill up the entire arrangement and it still feels like a full record. And in hip hop, we're really only talking 5 elements, right? We're talking kick, snare, hi-hat, bass or 808, whatever's down there on your subs, filling up your low end, giving you that bottom or your weight. And then the last thing is the main melody, right? The main melody could be a guitar, it could be a piano, it could just be a sample from a record, it could be a sax, whatever it is, giving you your vibe, that main loop you got going. And then in dance, house music, we got your kick, we got your snare, we got your hi-hat, we got your bass, and then again, we got that main melody, we got that sample, whatever it is that we got going. And why does that make for a full production? Why does that still feel like a full arrangement? First and foremost, we're gonna talk about this from a frequency spectrum perspective. And if you haven't picked up my book yet, I encourage you to go pick that up. 4 Horsemen of Mixing and Music Production. When we're talking about EQ, when we're talking about the frequency spectrum, we go over things like this. It helps you gain an understanding of where every sound sits within the frequency spectrum, which helps you build better arrangements, which helps you not overproduce, which helps you pick the right sounds that work well together. In the end, getting you a better result and a better mix, which is the point of this video. We're gonna keep emphasizing that. But I always encourage you to start with your fundamentals, really grasp and understand those fundamentals. And then if you want to add toys to your arsenal, tools to your arsenal to spice it up, that's cool. You want to add more spices to the spice cabinet, so when you're cooking, you have more ingredients and more things to play with and experiment with. That's amazing, but you need to understand the fundamentals before we even get into any of that. And just having your DAW with your stock plugins can get you some awesome results if you really know these tools, if you really know what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're picking these sounds, how to design those sounds, how to make those sounds work well together. That's what this video is going to help you understand. So this first example here, I had my guy Sion here from Orlando. We were just in a writing session. It was Sion. It was our management. We had writers in here. So we're in a session. We're just trying to get the vibe going. We're just trying to get the groove going. We're trying to get the party started, right? We just got a blank canvas. We're trying to get something going. I started here with this trippy kind of reverse melody loop in A minor. And since we're talking R&B, I also introduced these Rhodes here that were in A minor as well. And if you look at both of these sounds, they're really coming straight down the middle. So they're giving you that body in the middle, but the low end is kind of filtered out. The top end is kind of filtered out, which kind of makes it really vibey, but also fills up the mid-range, right? And then I have my conga here. I didn't do much to this conga either. I did some EQing on the bottom, poked out some upper mid, but what you see here is a tuner because I did put this conga to A, so I pitched it up 3 semitones here, transpose it 3 semitones. So we transpose it up 3 semitones, get it to A. We got this loop here, that's an A minor. We got these Rhodes, that's an A minor. And then the last thing I did here in this part of the arrangement is I have this little pad here. And that pad is just kind of like a ghostly pad. It's just got this I call kind of like ear candy. Once you have like the meat and potatoes of your production, you could add all of that little ear candy just for decoration. It's very subliminal, but it just contributes to the vibe as well, right? So right now we only got 4 sounds. We got kind of that little conga thing acting as your snare, but kind of like just keeping the rhythm. We got these like reverse trippy keys. We got these Rhodes that are kind of coming straight down the middle. Then we got this pad that's kind of like sitting up top, right? So I just cut out everything from the bottom there. It doesn't need much in the mid-range or on the bottom, right? Because that's not the job that it's doing. We just want it to sit up top and give it kind of like a little vibe up top, right? And then after this, well, during this part as well, we have some filters, some automation going on. So again, we're not adding any additional sounds. We're not doing anything crazy. We're just filtering out some frequencies to help the transitions. And then our drums drop here. And when our drums drop, this is even more minimal than our introduction, right? We're only talking about 3 sounds here. We still have our main melody loop. We have our snare. Again, that's going to be cracking right down the middle. That's actually a pretty bright snare. It does have a little top end. I actually tucked a little bit of that top end. It's cracking a little too hard. I boosted it at 160 to give it some bottom, and then I cut off 50 in the low end because we don't really need that low end. But the superstar here is really this 808 subby kick kind of thing. Because normally in hip hop trap production, we would have your kick and your bass, and we would kind of like layer that, right? But this thing is kind of taking the place of both. It gives me like that punch from the kick, and it gives me that bottom from the subs, and then it's dirty and it's distorted. So this is kind of giving me everything. And I just found that sample. I threw it in my sampler. I played a little melody with it. So this is acting like your quote unquote bass line as well. So that's just doing the whole job down there in the low end, right? So we don't need any additional sounds. I don't need to layer it with a kick. I didn't feel I needed any of that. So just with my kick and snare here, this is 2 sounds that's giving me my whole groove, right? And then my main chord, trippy backwards melody here is giving me my vibe. So we got a groove going with 3 sounds. That was really what got the party going, got the mood going in the studio, got people writing, got people singing. With 3 sounds we're talking about, right? Again, we had that little intro for the build up, but 3 sounds is the gist of my groove and my loop. And then if we wanted to add more up there on the top end and add to that groove, again, when we're talking hi-hats, the hi-hats are going to sit up top, right? And I cut out a lot of that mid-range. I cut out, obviously, all of the low end. You could open up the hats and see how they are originally. There's actually even a little clap in that hat loop right there. And I think, yeah, there's a tiny little clap. But I really don't need that either, right? Because I have my kind of snare. That snare's already cracking. So we got the little layer. I like that little clap in there, but it's kind of like it's acting like decoration now. It's not really like cracking. So I like all of that. That's my groove, right? That's the whole thing. And then I added another additional melody. And that melody is sitting on top as well, because we don't need much in the low end. We don't need much in the mid range. So that little melody, again, I cut off everything below 300 hertz, right? And if I wanted to, I could probably cut that even more. Let's listen with everything else. Yeah, if I wanted to really just sit on top, let's cut it to 600. Thins it out. It doesn't really interfere with anything. Again, it's just like kind of decoration, adds that little additional melody. And that's the entire loop. We're really literally talking about 5 sounds, right? We're talking about our kick, sub, 808, bass. That's all one sound. Then we're talking our snare. That's the second sound. Then we have our hi-hat loop. It's a pretty busy hi-hat loop. There's even a little clap in there, like we said, but we're kind of like filtering all of that out. Then we have our main melody, and then we have our little additional melody sitting up top. So that's our gist of our production, right? And that, again, got the whole session going, got everybody writing, got everybody singing, got everybody going, and then we had a session going, right? And then again, we filter back down to this part just to switch it up a little bit, vibe it out, you know? And we got this automation going. So our little trippy reverse loop is kind of like disappearing. We still got those little pads going as well, sitting up top, giving those little ghost sounds. And our conga that's holding our tempo is also disappearing. And then finally, I just do that little break, that little stop. Just helps our transition as well. But again, going through this, I hope helps you understand why this works from a frequency perspective, why we don't need too much going on. And I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed with all the VSTs and all the tools, and the access that you guys have is just incredible, right? Especially again with AI. You could probably have AI generating loops and sounds for you these days. But it's really up to you. Your understanding of how to build a great arrangement, your understanding of the frequency spectrum, that's what's going to help you build a great production. Not only a great production, but do it quickly too, right? Be efficient, especially in situations like this. When we're in the middle of a session, I have no beat up. It's just a blank canvas. We got to get the party going. We got to get it going quick. We don't want to drain the artist and the songwriter and be here sorting through sounds and try to figure out sounds and going crazy when we don't need that many sounds. We just need the main meat and potatoes to get our vibe going, to get our groove going, and then ultimately to fill up the entire production. And there's not a lot that's going on. It's just understanding where these sounds sit within the frequency spectrum, picking sounds that work well together, picking sounds that don't clash, picking sounds that are all doing an individual job, and then that's it. But as you saw, I'm just kind of like touching up the frequencies as we go here. Just doing little boosts and cuts as we go, as we're building our arrangement. So by the time we get to our mix phase, this whole thing's just going to sound clean because I already picked great sounds that work well together. I already touched them up as I'm going. There's not going to be much to do as far as the mix phase goes when we're mixing our production, right? I also did add some saturation just for vibe. You know, saturation helps warm things up. I have an entire video on saturation. If you guys just want to go check that out, I'll put the link up here. But let's just talk about saturation for a second, because that helped me clean up my mix a tiny bit. I got this chroma glow going here if you bypass it. So I just wanted to take out some of that, you know, that digital brightness and just warm it up. So I gave that little melody some saturation. Again, it just helped warm it up. And I did that with the Rhodes as well. You'll see what it did with the Rhodes. And on the Rhodes, I use my favorite saturator here. It's called the Capitator by Sound Toys. So what I did on the Rhodes is I boosted up the drive a little bit here, but I also did a low cut. I brightened up the tone a little bit, but you'll see when I bypass it. And that Rhodes had a lot of body that we just didn't need. Again, I just wanted kind of sitting in the mid-range. And then I touched up the EQ even more after that. And it gets us that final result that I was looking for. Just those warm chords sitting right there down the middle. It's not occupying the top end. It's not occupying the low end. When talking minimalism, another big factor that we didn't even discuss yet is that this leaves a lot of room for the vocal as well, right? This is what I call sort of like the Drake trick. I talked to 40, Drake's producer, one time at a convention, and we talked all about this, how he's not using a lot of sounds, and even the sounds that he is using, he's filtering a lot of top end. It just makes so much more room for the vocal. That's another way of thinking about this, that your vocal is the superstar, and your vocal is going to sit on top of all of this in the end, especially if we're talking about an R&B production. We're talking about lead vocals. We're talking about vocal stacks. We're talking about harmonies. Those vocals are going to sound so full and big in the end. We don't need the production occupying all of the space. A lot of the time, rappers and singers won't even know where to sing if your production has too much going on. And that's what I really mean when I talk about overproducing. It's just too busy. There's too much going on. Not everything needs to be there. With that mindset, it'll even help you get more placements because the artist is going to know where they fit in the track. It gives them plenty of room to work with when they're writing, when they're rapping, when they're singing. So I hope you learned a lot on this one. I hope this video helped you gain an understanding of how to build a really clean, simple production, but also full production that does the job well, pleases your artist. And I hope this helps you understand the frequency spectrum a lot better, where sounds sit within the frequency spectrum. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment if you have any more questions. I answered all the questions. I try to get to all the questions once again. I hope you enjoyed that and learned something. And I'll see you guys next time. Costa Sound TV.